Yeah, you hear that rush of water into the sewer here, Cheryl. Believe it or not, it's a lot quieter than when we got here earlier this afternoon, and it's nothing compared to earlier this morning when this whole area was covered in water.
Now, if we look right here, there's actually an ambulance going back through right here. We've seen quite a few of these. She wanted to vote absentee, so a few weeks ago, her parents brought her absentee ballot request to the Board of Elections office right here. Nearly everyone I spoke with on this street said they heard the gunshots this morning. It was right as people were getting ready for work. All over the property, also different pieces of debris after this storm moved through, like this slat of wood. Let me walk you over here. We'll try not to get in the way of anyone bringing out food right here, but if you look inside, you can see some of what they're doing here. This mirror was partially knocked off the car, and this was when some of the debris came off right here. And yes, James, I am now seeing that post that you were talking about right over here. So this appears to be what was part of the porch. According to this doctor, 9 patients came here to Grandview Medical Center, and the emergency room team here on duty at the time had 1 to 2 minutes notice that they were on the way here. So just imagine they had to drop everything that they were doing just to be able to get in the front door. You have to be buzzed in.
Hi, can I help you?
And that's far from the only thing. Once inside the building, too, chances are you're on camera. So many districts like Kettering have put in place new high-tech camera systems.
1, 2, 3.
As people powered through day 3 of storm recovery, the horrifying memories from Monday night were still so fresh for some.
Scared out of my life.
Jerome Ware says he and his wife were in the bedroom of their Trotwood home.
I was talking to her, and I was standing right here, and she kept saying, that wall is moving.
The whole family started to run to the basement, but only the kids made it. Ware and his wife trapped as the ceiling caved in.
And I just kept feeling for her hand, and I finally found her hand and pulled her towards me.
They made it out safely. Now, a few nights later, the sounds of cleanup filled their neighborhood and streets across the region. Neighbors working hard, but helped by volunteers like these guys we found in Trotwood, stopping by their second tornado-ravaged city of the day.
We went over to Brookville and they had plenty of help, so we come down here to see if anybody needed any help.
I was going to drop off some water.
But one of the biggest needs in the community still is clean water.
You think you can carry 2?
While many across Montgomery County learned Thursday they no longer have to boil, there are those, especially in the hardest hit areas, that still have to.
You need some water?
That's why this group rode around handing out bottled water as News Center 7 tagged along.
They're very thankful.
That's something we saw.
This here is a blessing.
God is good.
Meantime, back at what's left of Ware's house, despite this mess, he says he's thankful.
Yeah, I'm just happy everybody's alive in the community. They showed out.
You still catch an occasional whiff of smoke out here, and also a night later you see the police tape remaining in place roping off this property. When you look at this house, though, it is remarkable seeing this, that anyone made it out of here alive.
My wife heard some screaming, and I looked out the window. I saw the flames from my house.
By the time Todd Weissman ran down the street, it did not look good.
They were just, that thing was fully engulfed. Flames were probably 10 or 20 feet tall.
Realizing his neighbor John was stuck inside, Todd tried to help, but the smoke.
And it just literally knocked us back, out of there.
Fortunately, a sheriff's deputy was nearby and ready to do a job you won't find in any description.
He never gave it a second thought.
Todd followed.
He went up here and he just did this with the flashlight, and we, from about here down you could see a little bit, but from here up it was just absolutely black.
Come to my voice! Can you hear me? Come to my voice! What's tonight?
You could see John laying in there, and we both just crawled in there and grabbed him by the thing and just pulled him on out here.
Him himself gasping for air. But continue on into the house. To rescue that gentleman.
From there, Clark County Deputy Andrew Miller went and got materials to help John. Seconds before the fire department and an ambulance showed up to put out the now raging fire and take the victim for treatment. A day later, the charred house A sign of a lot of things lost, but no lives.
It gave me chills.
Deputy Miller's boss
It makes me proud to be their sheriff.
has no doubt what she saw in that video.
I thoroughly believe that if Deputy Miller hadn't have been there when he was, this would have been a fatal.
And don't forget about Todd.
Oh, I don't know about heroic. You know, you just do what has to be done.
But let's remember, he too ran into a burning house. So why'd he do it?
I honestly, I just thank God that, you know, he put me in the place to do what I did.
That victim did have to go to the hospital, as you heard, though. Fortunately, he did survive. And as for the sheriff's deputy, he did inhale some smoke here at the scene, but he was fine. In fact, the sheriff said he was back at work today. You know, James, a couple people just going above and beyond there. The sheriff herself said this was some of the most unbelievable video she's ever seen. James, our investigation into these state records show Kettering City Schools is among many districts across the state seeing performance in some measurements decrease by double digits. It's the proof behind concerns we've been hearing from parents for a long time. And these findings by the I-Team come right as Governor DeWine is demanding districts come up with a plan to close learning gaps.
Great.
Every day since last March,
Click on the word.
Dayton overnight healthcare worker Brittany Harris
You got it.
It's very hectic.
has returned each morning
Perfect.
to make sure her kids make it to school
Click on the next button.
at their kitchen table.
Yeah, it's like multitasking all day. You got to be a teacher, a mom, all day long, and it's a lot, but I get it done.
She's not alone. The last 11 months, so many families have searched for ways to make online learning work virtually. Franklin parent Stephanie Trent showed us her family's schedule and setup as they've chosen to stay online while COVID has surged.
But with staying remote, we already know what we're doing. I don't have to worry about being quarantined and then being pulled out of the classroom.
It's a struggle many of you told the I-Team about on our Facebook page with words like frustrating, exhausting, and detrimental. But it's Harris's concern.
Long term, I'm scared of them falling behind.
The I-Team found spelled out in a new state report concluding online learning has led to learning gaps, with the most vulnerable students impacted the most. Report data analyzed by the I-Team revealed drops in scores on last fall's third grade assessments, with fewer students scoring at the highest level, more scores at the lowest level, and the number of students meeting grade level expectations down almost across the board in the Miami Valley and by more than 10% in several of our largest districts, including a nearly 15% drop in Kettering, where school leaders warned last month.
We do have a large number of students, much more than normal, who are receiving failing grades due to their online work.
Centerville's spokesperson adding ongoing stress has also resulted in lower, even failing grades. The state says it's now up to local districts to form teams to identify concerns and implement plans to deal with the gaps, like in Dayton.
It's been a very, very frustrating year.
Where even before the report's release, Superintendent Elizabeth Lally
we understand that there's a gap.
Had been planning to keep students in class until the end of June and hold summer learning camps. With the I-Team, learning plans are now in the works for the next 3 years to make up ground.
I think we're going to see a very large gap in the majority of learners in reading and in math understanding. And I think that it's going to be our responsibility to make sure that we try to close that gap however we can.
A gap that's left many parents wondering, short term, about their student advancing to the next grade or getting into college. Long term, Stanford University researchers say this chilling learning loss could take years to recover. A reality a Cedarville University spokesperson says means not penalizing applicants lacking extracurriculars and making submitting standardized test scores optional.
And I just think that the kids are missing out on education.
Back at Harris's house, family photos from the last year show a mother's determination to make things as normal as possible, a determination she, like so many other parents, is also pouring into making sure her kids do not fall behind.
I just keep going. That's all we can do.
Today, an Ohio Department of Education spokesperson says the state really cannot offer tangible help to districts beyond making recommendations because of the way Ohio law is structured. Now, Governor DeWine today also reiterated his commitment to having students back in class. And James, the I-team will stay on top of what these local districts, again, it's their responsibility, the state says, are doing to try and close those learning gaps.